time during that conversation for a possible escort of the Buckingham on a possible subpoena being served to the Buckinghams by Captain Germain?
Yes, sir.
So that was the time or that you became aware that there was a subpoena attempt to be served to the Buckingham?
Yes, sir.
So about 7 o'clock or even 11 o'clock, then prior to even past midnight, and then at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. that morning, you had conversation with the central office by Captain, or I don't know if this is it J. Palacios? He's the officer in charge at that.
Captain Joe Palacios.
I'm sorry, Captain Joe Palacios, and that you did discuss about the escort.
Yes, sir.
And you also discuss about the summon or the penal summon being somewhere within the CPA area.
Yes, sir. At the time, I inquired from Captain Palacios if there was a penal summons, and at first, like I mentioned earlier, he wasn't aware until he called Sergeant Regis, and so he called me back and said yes, there was a penal summons at the office.
Did you feel this somewhat unusual for these two information that's already with you, such as that you are within your authority on the escort, and then you also have an issue being brought to your attention by by Joe Palacios on the subpoena summon? Did you feel somewhat this is unusual?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other members? I recognize Representative Sablan. Just to remind the members, though, I would appreciate it if you can be specific. We are kind of behind schedule.
I'll be brief, Chairman. Chief, good evening, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I guess it's getting close to evening. Let's go back to the start of your testimony. You mentioned that you called dispatch to advise, and I'm talking CPA dispatch, that there was going to be a VIP escort. Correct so far?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And you also asked whether Captain Palacios knew of a penal summons?
Yes, sir.
And I'm assuming, and you can clear it for the record, that you asked this because your earlier conversation with Captain Nakaifis upon his request for the escort, that there might be a service of a legal penal summons?
Sir, can you rephrase that again?
You also asked in your earlier statement, you also mentioned that you asked Captain Palacios whether he knew of a penal summons.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. You also say that he said he was going to call back and inform you. You needed to verify, and that you did not mention the time, but that he did call back and inform you that there was a penal summons that came from OPA investigator Juan Santos.
Yes, sir.
You then instructed Captain Muffles to contact OPA to serve the summons themselves.
Captain Palacios?
Yeah.
Yes.
You also stated that you asked Captain Muffles whether there was an order from a magistrate ordering CPA to serve, Captain Palacios, whether there was an order signed by a magistrate ordering CPA to serve the summons?
I requested if there's anything in the document ordering by the magistrate ordering Ports Police to serve the document.
In your statement, you also said that you instructed Captain Palacios to order CPA to serve the summons themselves because you never saw a document like that. And those were your words.
Sir, I was concerned because of the penal summons from OPA, and I advised Captain Palacios that he has the choice to serve it, and also advised Captain Palacios to call OPA and have OPA serve the document.
Thank you, Chief. I'm kind of concerned in regards to the requirement of a magistrate signing off on a penal summons as a requirement for a law enforcement officer to impel a law enforcement officer to serve. Have you in any time in your career as a law enforcement officer been aware of the process of obligatory upon the police?
Sir, I don't understand the question. Are you referring to as a police officer? Am I aware as a police officer?
Okay, let me just read the what's in the code in regards to process obligatory upon police. 6101 subsection A says all process in any criminal proceedings, contempt proceedings, or in a juvenile delinquency proceedings issued in accordance with law and the rules of procedure prescribed in accordance with law shall be obligatory upon all police officers having knowledge of it, and any police officer to whom the process is given shall promptly make diligent effort to execute or serve it either personally or through another police officer.
Sir, if that's the law, I don't see it on the summons.
This process is not defined as a summons. What's your understanding of a process?
A process. Process would be arrest warrant, restraining order, and search warrant.
Doesn't include legal penal summons.
Those I mentioned I'm familiar with because I've been working with those documents.
Okay, Chief. Take that. Let's go to you earlier stated that when you first arrived that you proceeded to the order counter where Captain Akaifis was checking in the Buckingham's baggage.
Yes, sir.
You witnessed the baggage being actually checked in?
Yes, sir.
In the absence of the Buckingham?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Are there any other members? If not, I have a few questions myself. I am going to try to make it brief because we are pressed for time. The first is relating to your statements about from the time you first arrived at the airport and you recalled seeing Captain Nakaifis at the counter, check-in counter, checking in the baggage, I believe. And then subsequent to that, you said you went outside and you saw that the Buckinghams were in the car and they came out. I am going to conclude, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that the Buckinghams did not check themselves in. Is that a fair conclusion? Did you witness the Buckinghams check themselves in at the counter?
Sir, no, I did not witness them checking at the counter.
Okay, thank you. Second, again, it goes back to the summons, and I think the reason why you're getting a lot of questions here is your statements. One, we can determine that you're aware that a summons may be issued to the Buckinghams at the time of your conversation with Captain Nakaifis. That's when you first learned that you were requested to provide escort and police assistance, and you were also informed that a summons may have been served. So from that point on, you knew that there was maybe a summons served. You know what the document was, and you did further confirm that by your conversation with your subordinates when you inquired, and they later confirmed that yes, we have been given a copy of a summons. I think I understood you as being concerned about perhaps the validity of that summons, right? Because your experience is with arrest warrants and other types of warrants, but that you were concerned that was it signed by the magistrate? Just for my understanding, can you please clarify what you meant by magistrate?
Yes, sir. To answer your question, I believe most of the documents that I have experienced are signed by the judge, if not signed by the Attorney General's office. And as I requested from Captain Palacios, I mentioned to verify if there was any statement directing me as Chief of Ports Police, statement directing our department to serve the document. Most of that through my career I've conducted with our partners. However, I never experienced the penal summons with the office of OPA.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a very fair statement on your part. And most of us, I guess, and even law enforcement officials are not fully aware of 6 CMC 6101, the process obligatory upon police that any law enforcement personnel is required by law to serve any type of summons. The reason I asked that question is you did ask Sergeant Regis, I believe,
Captain Palacios.
Captain Palacios, who signed it, and I think he did respond that it was signed by the clerk of court. And I just wonder, a clerk of court being an officer of the court, if that wasn't enough to satisfy you that this order was coming from the court.
Sir, I've never experienced a document, and so I cannot say.
Okay. But we do know that at least you attempted to clarify, and because you were not aware, I guess you were not satisfied. But then subsequently, later on, let's kind of fast forward down the line, and at that point when the Special Agent Park and Special Agent Prida were walking up, and they had a document in their hand, you pretty much knew what type of document Mr. Buckingham was expecting from all of these conversations and telephone calls and so forth. I think anybody, after having talked about it with different individuals, was aware that the documents that the FBI agents would have had to serve Mr. Buckingham was probably the penal summons. But yet, at that point, you felt that they had the authority to issue that. So you know, according to your words, gave them free access or access to the Buckinghams. So at that point, you didn't have any problems with the penal summons being served. And I guess my question is, was it because of the jurisdictional issue that the FBI agents had, or was it at that time you were satisfied that it's no longer any ambiguity as far as who is authorized to sign the penal summons?
Chair, one more minute.
Sir, to answer your question, at the time it was still ambiguous to me too. That's number one. And two, I wasn't sure if OPA had the authority to serve that document. I wasn't clear. Number three, excuse me, sir. And number three, I still question the fact that I never saw anyone from OPA at the time.
Chair, may I answer that?
Is there, before you respond, is there a number 4?
There is.
There is. Okay, so we'll allow you to
That's the
continue.
part that I was going to come in.
Please proceed.
I only point out in the penal summons that has been the subject of this examination because it says George Hasselback, Legal Counsel, Office of the Public Auditor. Then it calls himself Attorney for the Commonwealth. And then, which Mr. Kosam had indicated, he's only used to seeing documents from the Office of the Attorney General. And then at the end, it says George Hasselback, OPA Legal Counsel, Assistant Attorney General, pursuant to 1 CMC 7847B, which he's not an Assistant Attorney General, he's an OPA Legal Counsel designated for prosecutory authority. And so, and then the summons at the front directs the summons to Edward Buckingham, doesn't direct any law enforcement officer to serve, arrest, search, or anything like a document would. So my only point on behalf of CPA and its officers is that the ambiguity should have been resolved by OPA when they brought this document over there, citing their authority, and not leave it there and say, you serve it. You know, we don't just serve documents because somebody walks up and says serve it, unless they're an attorney general or the police. So, I mean, I'm not being facetious. It's just somebody has to have the authority, and the authority of a judge sure carries a little bit more weight.
Counsel, I'm not sure, but isn't it, I mean, first of all, the penal summons itself was nothing in here references George Hasselback as either legal counsel or what, or an assistant attorney general. Yeah, and it is signed by the clerk of court, meaning, and it has a criminal case number, and to be served to Edward Buckingham. So that in itself, that is the document, the front page, the one that has the authority to issue the summon, and it was signed by the clerk of court. So that is the relevant document here. Second, your number 2 response was that you were not sure if OPA had the authority to serve the penal summons. Yet I do recall a statement you made wherein you instructed your captain to return it back to OPA and let them serve it. So on one hand you say you're not sure if they have the authority, but you also say give it to them to serve it. You don't want your staff serving it. I'm a little unclear. You know, I guess what we're trying to establish here is what were the reasons that CPA did not serve it. And I think the statute of relevance here is, if there was a violation, is 6 CMC 6101. And we want to just determine and find out, you know, was it jurisdictional? Was it no clear authority? Was it whatever? And I've been hearing different things at different times. So I just maybe want to get a clear and concise answer.
Yes, sir, Chairman. One is I wasn't clear with the penal summons. 2 is, yes, I informed Captain Palacios to serve it if he feels he should serve it. 3 is I told Captain Palacios to call the OPA and have OPA serve that document. So there's no way that we said we're not going to serve the document. I told Captain Palacios that it's up to you, Cap. You may serve the document if you feel you want to serve the document. However, I feel more comfortable if you call OPA and have OPA serve this document.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And for the record again, because we do have a report that basically references your Ports Police personnel stating that you instructed Captain Palacios that no summons is to be served to Attorney General Ed Buckingham. Your answer, your response to Representative De La Cruz was that you did not make such a statement.
Sir, I didn't recall anything in that form. However, I know I didn't say that, and I mentioned to Captain Palacios, you may serve that document if you feel you need to serve it. However, I would feel more comfortable if you have OPA, call OPA and have them serve the document.
Thank you. Thank you. I think all of the questions, are there any further questions before I dismiss the witness? If not, I want to thank you, Chief, for coming to attend this hearing, for the questions. I mean, for answering the questions. You may be compelled to come back at a later date, so I ask before you are dismissed that you please leave your contact number with our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Pete Tuwai. And if you are going to be asked to return, we will give you reasonable notice. And with that, I want to thank you for your cooperation.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you so much.
Me too, Chair.
Unless you want to sit in for other... Sarge, could you now bring in Officer Lanizo? For the members, we have, after Officer Lanizo, we have one more. We have the AGO. So if possible, members, we were supposed to start at 3:30. I'd like to ask if we can conclude our questioning by 4:30, so we can entertain the other two witnesses. Please keep that in mind. Good afternoon, Officer Lanizo. I'm sorry, the reason I didn't call you up earlier was my list did not show your name as being served, and that is why we didn't call you earlier. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and I'm going to swear you in. There it is. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Thank you. You can put down your hand now. Now, for the record, can you please state your full name and your title and what agency you represent?
Police Officer 1, Myron Lanizo, DPS.
Thank you, officer. When you finish talking, just press that button, and when the light turns off, the mic is off. Maybe I should ask the legal counsel to go ahead and...
Representatives, if I just may make a continuing objection to the sufficiency of the subpoena.
So noted. Officer Lanizo, do you understand why you have been asked to come and be a witness here? Do you understand?
Yes.
Thank you. Because just a moment, please. Did the members receive the incident report that was provided to this body by DPS? This is relative to the earlier request we made to DPS, specifically to the commissioner, the acting commissioner. For the record, we have been given a self-statement regarding this incident from PO1 Officer Patrice. Does everybody have a copy of that? Consul Van Wingarden. Was there also a self-statement by Officer Lanizo? So it's in the reverse page. Thank you. Thank you for providing this. Members all have it. May I ask Officer Lanizo if you would like to give us your own testimony as to your participation regarding the DPS escort of Mr. Buckingham to the airport? Please, just make sure you push the mic if you wish to talk. Thank you.
I wish to exercise my right to the Fifth Amendment and the right to seek a lawyer.
I understand. Okay, I would now like to maybe offer the members to pose questions.
Representatives, at this time I will withdraw as counsel, but I would like to remind you that under the constitutional right for assistance of counsel, the officer is allowed to seek a lawyer before answering any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. And with that, and consistent with the other DPS officers who have invoked their right to their own legal counsels, I am gonna. We cannot answer. We cannot pose any questions at this time until because the witness has asked that he get another counsel. But before I make a statement, go ahead, Representative Sablan.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, in reading the self-statement by Officer Lanizo, I think it's very self-explanatory, and if he so volunteers to answer, I want to urge the committee to take the statement in its face value, if without objection. I think it's clear that Officer Lanizo, according to his statement, was informed by his superior officer and detailed for a security detail, and after it was over, he got dismissed from the deputy commissioner on location, and he left. Personally, I don't see what more we can gather from Officer Lanizo at this point, other than as an officer out in the field, he received instruction from superiors responded to those instructions, and after the detail was completed, he was relieved. You know, we're pressed for time, and again, if there's no objection, I move that we accept his if he can voluntarily, for the record, state to the committee that this is reflective of why he was there, and go from there.
Representative De La Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I do understand the statement made by Representative Sablan. I beg to defer on excusing Officer Lanizo. As you know, yesterday's testimonials have basically pointed to Police Officer Myron Lanizo as one of two personnel of DPS that have pushed a news reporter as testified by this witness yesterday. And so with that, Police Officer Lanizo has requested and has pleaded the fifth, and had asked that he come back. And I asked that he come back with the other police officers this coming Friday. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you. The chair has already instructed several other police officers who invoke their right to retain their own counsel and before they testify in front of this committee, and this committee has agreed to have them reappear before this body at a later date with their counsel. So consistent with that, I am going to ask Officer Lanizo that you also appear on Friday at 1 p.m. here in the chamber, represented by your legal counsel of your choice, but please be prepared to appear before this body on Friday. And this is, if anything, to be consistent with our instructions to the other police officers who have similarly invoked their right. At that time, then the members can either ask questions or dismiss the witness. But Representative Sablan, I'm sorry I cannot grant your request simply because the other members also have a right to ask questions if they so choose.
Like I said, Chairman, my request was if without objection, and with an objection being provided, I understand the decision from the chair. And just for clarification, it's Friday, October the 5th?
That is correct. Officer Lanizo, we are going to reschedule your testimony as well as the testimony of the other police officers who have requested that they retain their own independent legal counsel. So please be present on Friday at 1 o'clock at this chamber. Friday would be October 5th. And with that, I am going to dismiss you for now. Also, please, wouldn't hurt to provide our Sergeant at Arms with your point of contact in case there are changes. But thank you. With that, You are hereby dismissed until Friday at 1 p.m. Thank you.